You ever have one of those mornings where you walk into the shop, look at a pile of steel, and it just looks back at you with pure, unadulterated judgment?
Every Tuesday, Tiger, usually because you've left a sculpture of half-finished projects blocking the coffee machine.
It's a curated gallery of ambition, Alex. But today, I was staring at the frame for that off-road trailer I'm building. I had the MIG torch in one hand and the TIG torch in the other, and I felt like a parent trying to decide which kid to send into a heavy rainstorm without a coat.
Dramatic as always. But honestly, it's the question everyone hits eventually. You start with whatever welder you could afford or whatever your uncle had in his garage, and then you realize that maybe, just maybe, using a sledgehammer to hang a picture frame isn't the way. So, for the folks listening who are staring at a piece of 1/4 inch plate or a delicate aluminum tube, how do we actually choose between MIG, TIG, and the old school stick?
It's about the soul of the project, really, or more accurately, how much time you want to spend grinding versus how much time you want to spend swearing. Let's start with MIG, metal inert gas, the hot glue gun of the metal world. I remember the first time I pulled a MIG trigger after years of struggling with other stuff. I felt like I cheated at life. It's a spool of wire, a motor, and a gas bottle. You point, you shoot, and if you got your settings dialed, it sounds like bacon frying in a pan.
You always use the bacon analogy. But for someone who's never touched one, it's basically the automatic transmission of welding, right?
Exactly. It's friendly. It's the golden retriever of processes. You're feeding a consumable wire through the gun, and that wire acts as both the electrode and the filler. Because it's continuous, you can lay down inches, feet, even, of weld without stopping.
But there's a catch. There's always a catch with you.
The catch is that MIG is a bit of a messy eater. You've got spatter, you've got those little BBs of molten metal that jump off and commit suicide on your clean workshop floor. And if you aren't careful with your gas coverage, say you leave the shop door open and a light breeze wanders in, your weld ends up looking like a piece of Aero chocolate, just full of bubbles and regret.
So MIG is for the I need this done by Saturday crowd, the trailer builders, the gate fixers.
High production, high speed. It's great for thick stuff because you can just pour the heat in. But if you try to MIG weld a soda can, you're just going to make a very expensive, jagged hole.
Which brings us to TIG, the one that looks like surgery. I've seen you do this, Tiger. You look like you're trying to defuse a bomb. One hand has the torch, the other has a filler rod, and your foot is pumping a pedal. It's a lot of coordination for a guy who trips over his own extension cords.
Hey, I'm graceful when it counts. TIG is the poetry of the shop. Tungsten inert gas. You're using a non-consumable tungsten needle to create an arc, and you manually dip a rod of metal into the puddle. It's surgical because you have total control over the heat with that foot pedal. If the metal starts looking like it's about to give up and melt into a puddle on the floor, you just back off your toe.
It's beautiful, sure, the dime stack look, but let's be real, it's slow.
It's glacial. It's like painting a mural with a single hair brush. I spent 3 hours last night TIG welding a stainless steel manifold, and by the end, my neck felt like it was made of dry kindling. But the result? No spatter, no grinding, just clean silver ripples. If you're working on aluminum, or something thin, or something that needs to look like it belongs in a museum, TIG is the only way to fly.
So, for the beginner, MIG if you want to finish the project, TIG if you want to fall in love with the process.
And if you have the patience of a saint, TIG doesn't forgive a dirty workspace. If there's a fingerprint's worth of oil on that aluminum, the arc will turn green and spit in your face. It demands respect.
Okay, but we're forgetting the old man in the corner. Stick welding, shielded metal arc welding, if we're being fancy. My grandfather had a buzz box that sounded like a hornet's nest and looked like it was built in the 40s.
Stick is the blacksmithing of welding. It's primal. You've got a sacrificial electrode, a stick coated in flux. You strike an arc like you're lighting a giant match. It's loud, it's smoky, and it produces a layer of slag that you have to chip off with a hammer like you're excavating a fossil.
It sounds miserable. Why would anyone choose that in the year of our Lord 2024?
Because stick doesn't care about your feelings, Alex. And it certainly doesn't care if your metal's a little rusty or if you're standing in a field in North Dakota with a 30-mile-an-hour wind. Because the flux is on the rod, you don't need a gas bottle. It's portable. It's powerful. If I have to weld a broken H-beam on a tractor out in the mud, I'm not bringing my delicate TIG setup. I'm grabbing the stick lead.
So it's the off-road welder, the one that works when the conditions are garbage.
Exactly, it's high penetration. It digs deep. But trying to weld thin sheet metal with a stick welder is like trying to perform heart surgery with a chainsaw. You're just going to end up with a mess. and a lot of colorful language.
Let's break this down for the person who's about to drop $1,000 on their first machine. If they can only pick one to start their journey, where are they landing?
If you're a hobbyist who wants to build furniture, fix a lawnmower, or make some garden art, get a multi-process MIG machine, something that can do gasless flux core if you're outside, or true MIG with a bottle for the clean stuff inside. It's the most rewarding for the least amount of why is this not working time.
And for the perfectionist, the person who's already spent 40 hours sanding their woodworking project?
Oh, they're going straight to TIG. They'll hate the learning curve. It's like learning to play the violin while riding a unicycle. But once it clicks, you feel like a wizard.
What's the biggest shop disaster you've had switching between these? You must have a story where you picked the wrong tool for the job.
It wasn't that long ago. I was trying to be efficient, which is Tiger code for lazy. I had a thin-walled chromoly bicycle frame. Should have been TIG all the way. But I had the MIG set up and I thought, I can just pulse it. It'll be fine.
I can see where this is going.
I pulled the trigger, and instead of a nice bead, I watched a molten glob of steel just depart. It fell straight through the tube, landed on my work boot, and burned a hole through the leather before I could even yell. I ended up with a hole in the frame the size of a nickel and a very expensive ventilated shoe.
So the lesson there wasn't just use TIG, it was don't be lazy.
It's about matching the energy of the machine to the needs of the metal. You can't force a process where it doesn't belong.
To wrap this up, MIG for speed and ease, TIG for beauty and precision, and stick for when the world is ending and you need to join two pieces of rusty bridge together.
That's the gospel right there. But the real takeaway, don't let the choice paralyze you. The worst weld is the one you never started because you were too busy reading manuals. Pick a process, burn some wire, and eventually the metal starts telling you what it needs.
Just maybe wear better boots than Tiger did.
Yeah, and maybe keep a fire extinguisher closer than I do. But that's a story for the next episode.